Hello everybody, August 23rd, 2013, and it's the weekly wrap-up. And if you're on the website, you know that the advanced voice course, I just released the Harmonic Minor Scale, and that is a very interesting scale. I use it a lot in improvisation as a flavor. When I say I use it a lot, I don't constantly use that sound, but when I bring that sound in, it's such a different sound from the other typical minor scales that it always has a really nice flavor to it. And as a vocalist, again, I'm always into internalizing every sound that I've ever played as an instrumentalist. I'm into internalizing it as a vocalist. I've always internalized it as a vocalist first and come from there. And I know a lot of people who play instruments spend a lot of time working on their fingers and their hands, you know, guitar, piano, violin, trumpet, saxophone, flute, you know, everybody's doing this kind of fingering, mind to memory, muscle reflex that's important to have happen. But right from the beginning, because I was a singer from the very beginning of my musical career, it was singing first and then branching out to the instruments. I've always had this internal feeling of understanding the music from the sounds that are coming out of me. Now, that makes you a better vocalist, and it also makes you a better improvisationalist, even on other instruments, if you'll think like a singer. Because I think every instrumentalist is always sort of striving to do that. And I've mentioned the fact before that I play the violin, and whenever I'm playing the violin, I always think of it as being a singer more than anything else, because the violin is a singing instrument. It's a long, sustaining tone kind of instrument, projecting that concept. So I always think like a singer there, and I always come from internally what the sounds sound like. And if I'm babbling, I'm babbling. But what I'm saying to you is internalize the sounds as a singer, and it'll make you better on any music endeavor. And I'm looking really forward now to getting to this point of wrapping up the advanced voice course and then heading on into the harmony course. And to tell you the truth, I started thinking about it. I've got plenty of reference material in relationship to how the harmony course starts already. So I'm thinking about jumping the gun, and even before I finish the advanced course, start to pull up some of the harmony lessons and get the harmony thing going, because there's a whole development of intervals as a singer that I want you to do. That's in the course. Don't even know what the course is yet. I know you guys don't, but I do. And you may be seeing that pop up in the next week or two. I may actually just go ahead and start the harmony course and start to build upon it and finish up and wrap up the advanced voice course as well. That way I don't feel like I'm pushing myself or rushing myself to finish the advanced voice course because I have to finish it before I do release anything from the harmony class, for the harmony course. So, with that said, what that means is that you might be expecting to see in the next couple of weeks the beginning of the harmony course, even if the advanced voice course isn't completely finished. And what I'll do, if it works out that way, is I'll start releasing some of the harmony and continue to release what's left of the advanced voice course, so you'll be seeing clips coming from both directions. Now for a musical tip of the week, let's talk a little bit about breath control. I'm always hearing from students or from people who are not even students, and they say to me, well, what about the breath control? What about singing from the diaphragm and all of that stuff? And I go out of my way to say, and I constantly work on teaching people, that breathing obviously is very, very important. We are animals of air, and how we take the air in and how we let the air out, and how we regulate that air against the vocal cords is the study of voice. But it isn't just take a big breath, drop the diaphragm, drop the jaw, open up the back of the throat, and start singing. You're going to hear that from choir directors, and you're going to hear that from some vocal instructors. I always want to say I'm not trying to insult those who say those things, but there's a lot more to it than that, to be able to really sing from the bottom to the top of your range. You'll get a good sound, or you'll get a big sound, I should say, not necessarily a great sound, but you'll get a big sound with those directions. opening the throat and the back and singing with all the support. But it sounds a certain way, and it turns out to be stylistic a certain way, and it also turns out to quite often jam people up and take away their full potential of range because they put too much power in the areas of where the vocal cords are making adjustments, and when those vocal cords can't make those adjustments, they jam up. They either jam up or pop, and they break, and then that's what we hear, a person's voice breaking or cracking, or building up just an immense amount of stress and strain in a certain area of their range as they're trying to sing higher, and they're just sounding like they're choking to death. It doesn't sound like great quality at all. So, what is proper breath control? There's so many exercises to get that going. But I talked a little bit about it previously, about onsets, where if you get a good onset, everything else is taken care of until it's time to stop the note. And you can bring the vibrato in or let the vibrato stay. That time I held a note for a while, let the vibrato come in. You can do any of those things and have the control to do those things when the air is hitting the vocal cords the right way. If you go, oh, and you make that big sound like that, well, I kind of defy anybody, I don't care who they are, to take that, sung that way, lower in their range, and take it up into the high notes. And the reason why you can't do that is because that's not what's going on with the vocal cords. For me to sing the high note, I have to allow my vocal cords to stretch, to dampen, to shorten up, to get thinner and thinner. All of these things are happening as I sing from lower to higher. And you can't put the power that in that big sound. Plus, that sound sounds kind of ludicrous. It sounds... it's used sometimes in arias and in opera, and it's used sometimes in musical theater, sort of, but really not exactly that way. And so that's the confusion, that when people talk about singing from the diaphragm and opening up the throat and dropping the jaw. They drop the jaw so it'll take tension away from the larynx and from the neck. That's the theory. But the hinge of the jaw, if you're kind of just like opening your mouth really wide like that, it again doesn't accomplish things. And truly what happens as you sing to the highest of notes, sometimes the mouth has to be a little smaller opening just to navigate your way properly through there. Now there's a giant difference. Is it a giant difference? There is a difference between R&B singing and musical theater singing, and singing classical music in operas and singing arias. The approach is just like classical guitar and jazz guitar are kind of different instruments, and they're set up different ways and they sound differently. We sort of have that same thing going on in our singing. But just like the guitar players, the guitars still have 6 strings on them, and we still have vocal cords no matter what style we say we're going to sing in. And to sing like a pop singer here in America, just dropping the jaw, opening up the back of the throat is not going to get it. Now, I'm going to go way back and talk about a gigantic voice of all the singers. Now, who of anybody would really be the person who sang with drop the jaw and open up the throat and sing with the big giant voice? How about the greatest tenor ever, Enrico Caruso? Caruso. Now, I don't know who knows who he is or not. Anybody who understands who Caruso is understands that at the turn of the century he was the world's greatest singer. He was a tenor, and he had an amazingly strong voice and a fantastic talent. And I used to have a little hobby, and my hobby was to research all the great singers and try to find out more about their techniques in relationship to who taught them and what they were being taught and how they developed their voice. Now, Caruso actually had 30 different vocal exercises that he practiced regularly. And it always started with a breath, with very basic breath control exercises, but those basic breath control exercises were very much onset, sustains, and releases, like I'm talking about all the time. So even back to the biggest voice of all, arguably, just dropping the jaw and opening the throat, that's not the way the bel canto singers were really doing it. And definitely, if we can argue about what bel canto is and who knew bel canto or not, but I don't think people are going to argue with the fact that Caruso understood what bel canto was and he came from that world. So with that said, what am I talking about? What am I babbling about? I'm saying to you, again, it's very important to understand that the voice thins out, and the way the vocal cords work is when you're in your lower notes, this is always to be balanced and soft underneath here, larynx staying in the basic middle position of your voice box staying in the middle position of your neck, not going up too high or too low. When you go to sing a note, this is going to catch and might move a little bit up and down, but just a little bit because it's like a bobber in the water. And you can start to sing in different little places in your range, a little bit lower with the 2 or 3 or 4 notes and go up and come back down, get a little higher, do it again, get a little higher. Start and stop really smooth and even. Feel that this is all staying connected. Get that good place and sing about a third of the power that you really think that you should be singing with. About a third of the power, that gets you in your zone where you can really start to feel how your voice box is vibrating and working well. Anyway, musical tip of the week. Be looking for the harmony, the beginning of the harmony lessons to start to come out in the course. I'm very excited about it. And continue on with the advanced voice course for everybody that's on the website. And those of you that are YouTubers watching this, I always invite you, please come on over to totallyvocals.com. Get some free lessons, 10 free lessons before you even have to be involved in any other access to the site. But really becoming a full-time member and having access to the whole site will give you so many opportunities to understand song breakdowns and to really take your voice from a beginning to an advanced level that's real and works and is thought out and is a lifetime of me organizing my exercises the way that I hand them out to my students. So come on over to totallyvocals.com.